It's a pleasure being here with you today. As was introduced, my name is Joshua Strabecki. I'm the Assistant Director at the Children's Advocacy Center of Butler County. The Children's Advocacy Center has been in existence for about 8 years in Butler County. And as many may not know, it works in tandem with multiple different systems. But one of the groups in which we want to ensure we work with the most is you, the community. It's your Children's Advocacy Center because it's about your children. Okay. We have a video as part of our presentation today. I'm going to ask that we get that queued up and bring your attention to the screen. Go ahead.
I'm glad that you guys are excited, and I'm excited to be here with you guys. Name something fun that you can do in 2 minutes. And if you have something in your mind, raise your hand. Okay, we got one over here.
Football. Draw.
Nice. Why is 6 afraid of 7? Does anybody know?
Because 7, 8, 9.
What are some things that come in threes?
The 3 little pigs. The 3 wise men.
Who here has heard of stranger danger? If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Telekinesis.
To be able to become invisible.
So this stat is one that's personal to me. I'm a survivor of multi-generational child sexual abuse. I know how hard it can be to come forward and talk about what has happened. Most kids don't even know how to verbalize what child sexual abuse is. And there are so many reasons why kids don't come forward and tell their story. And as a result, they stay quiet and they continue to endure the abuse. Sometimes we can notice signs before they have it within themselves to come forward and speak. Unpredictable or frequent mood swings, loss of appetite, sudden changes in personal hygiene, calling themselves dirty, bad, disgusting, or unlovable. Another thing to look for is their behavior towards other adults. In some cases, for no discernible reason, their behavior will start to shift. Any adult who makes these children uneasy, it's important to take notice and start a dialogue with your child. All of these signs can be signals, but it's up to us to take action. We can educate ourselves to recognize these signs and to make sure that we are helping our children so that they can have a healthy, happy, connected future. Get in touch with your local Child Advocacy Center to learn more about the signs of child abuse and what to do if you recognize them. Help make a difference.
Powerful video. The first time that we watched it, it kind of put us in a little bit of a state of shock. I'm curious, though, about your reactions to what was presented there.
I was unaware of the numbers.
Yeah. It is It's far more prevalent than we want to realize. And you only see what you pay attention to, right? You only know what you know. Other reactions? Yes, and that was, when I came into this field, that was something that I was quite surprised by. It's a process that happens over time, and the grooming that takes place beforehand is to ensure that those children don't speak out against what's happening. And so it typically is people that have ongoing, consistent access to those children. Other thoughts? Okay. The Children's Advocacy Center is one of many different organizations working collaboratively together to address instances of child abuse after they have occurred. But the Children's Advocacy Center has a unique piece of this where we can shift the focus from response to prevention. And that is where we are very thankful to be able to come and talk to groups such as this, because we need your help. And while that video can be kind of overwhelming and dampening to the spirits, there's a lot of hope. There's hope for our communities, and there's hope for the children that are in our communities. And it begins with each and every single one of us recognizing the role that we can play in ensuring that children lead a safe, happy, and healthy life. If we could advance the slides, or maybe I'm the one that can advance the slides. I am the one. The mission of the Children's Advocacy Center is empowering our community to ensure the safety, health, and well-being of children and families. And we have a vision of a community where all survivors of abuse can heal. I'm here to tell you that many individuals who suffer in silence, who don't have access to opportunities to heal, they lead very difficult lives. Child abuse, whether it's neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or human trafficking, which is in our communities, is something that is not restricted to a single socioeconomic status, to a single gender or gender identity. It affects all children. And so we have a vision of a community that gets engaged, returns back to those days where we knew our neighbors, where we cared about what was going on with the children in our communities, where we fostered those deeper connections, and we worked together to make sure that we had healthy and safe communities. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. No discredit to your ability to read, but I just want to highlight a couple things on here. Our facility, prior to it being developed, if a child experienced an abuse and they reported it, that would initiate an investigative process. If the perpetrator of that abuse was in a caregiver role or was a family member, children and youth become involved. If it breaks a crime according to PA Crimes Code, law enforcement becomes involved. So there can be two investigations that are working at the same time. Now imagine a child, and you saw the numbers, 60% of children never even talk about it because they don't know how to. They don't feel safe. Their trust has already been taken away from them. Their voice has been restricted. And prior to the Children's Advocacy Center, they would be expected to talk to a stranger from Children and Youth Services, who unfortunately gets a really bad rap in our community. And they would have to talk about one of the most difficult things that they had ever experienced to that stranger, in who knows what setting. And then the expectation was that they would have to talk about it again to a law enforcement officer. For any of you that have tried to engage children in just hearing about how their day was at school, you know that sometimes it's like pulling teeth, and that is not even, hopefully, a traumatizing experience. And these conversations would take place in the police barracks, next to criminals that are getting processed, with police officers that have guns on their hips, in uniform, perhaps brusque, because they don't have the skills to be able to communicate to a 5-year-old. No discredit to police whatsoever, I must say. And should it move forward in charges, they would have to disclose again to an assistant district attorney and be on the stand, with no guarantee that the family has access to supportive services to help them even process what they have to go through. That's why we're here. We keep the child and their non-offending caregiver at the central focus. They're the most important part. And so instead of them going all over the place talking to all of these professionals, one after another, they're able to come to our center, and we bring all those people to them. I talk about these partners, and they're part of what's called the multidisciplinary team. It includes law enforcement, who are tasked with keeping the public safe, the district attorney's office, who prosecutes these cases. We also bring victim advocacy services to the table, because despite the fact that our law enforcement officers are there to protect and serve, and our district attorney's office is there to ensure that there is some sort of justice that is had, the child and the parents need to have a voice in this. For better or worse, perhaps they don't want to move forward. They feel it would be more a detriment to their child or their family. And so the victim advocate becomes an important role in this, as they can communicate the best interests of the child and the family from the perspective of the child and family to the greater multidisciplinary team. We also engage medical services. We have partnerships with a child advocacy center pediatrician based out of Pittsburgh, a place called A Child's Place, who comes up to our center and does non-emergent medical screening. We enhance partnerships with mental health services, multiple different places, who are all trained in evidence-based, trauma-informed practices to ensure that children who do survive these horrible experiences have a pathway to healing. Child Protective Services, these are unsung heroes of our community. Again, they get a really bad rap, but they go out without any guns on their hip to protect them into homes where they have no idea what to expect. And they're the ones that ensure that when there are instances of child abuse that are occurring, that they're properly investigated, and that those individuals who perpetrate no longer have clearances and therefore access to children ever again. And at our center, myself as well as 2 other professionals, we provide forensic interview services. So let me explain that for a moment. We receive our referrals from one of 2 entities, law enforcement or children and youth services. They have very minimal information that's provided to them about the allegations. They go out, they do a safety check with the children, they contact us for a referral. We are the ones who contact the family. We do a screening over the phone with the family to assess for mental health needs, medical needs, where the child's at in their developmental process, and then we work with the family to figure out a best time that they can come to our center for the purpose of interviewing that child, so that we can hear firsthand in a non-leading conversation what their experience was. Up to this point, it's an allegation of child abuse. We're a neutral part in this process, and while we are there for the well-being of the children in our community, we also toe the line for the pursuit of truth. And sometimes the truth is that the allegation is false. So we go into this not seeking to justify the allegation, but to provide, in the best way possible, an opportunity for that child to say what did or did not happen. Okay? And that is a very difficult conversation to have sometimes. And we're very thankful to have two main excellent forensic interviewers who spend every possible ounce of their energy to make sure that these children feel safe, comfortable, engaged in this process before we ever take them into a room. I'm going to show you some pictures of our new space. We just moved. We're right across from the Unionville Fire Hall on Route 8 and Mahood Road. It's a beautiful facility. I openly invite you to come visit us. It's your child advocacy center, and we want to show you this resource that's in your community. We provide confidential trauma-informed place. We have 2 family waiting rooms. There are snacks in there. We never assume that children have access to food, so we put a big bowl of, as healthy as possible, snacks in that room, water bottles and juice boxes, and we encourage them, take what you want. There's other resources that we have in the room, what we consider to be soft resources. Again, we don't want to assume where anybody is at in their life. So we provide the family and the caregivers with information on the Butler County Human Services resources, other supportive agencies that can help with food security, job security, transportation, whatever that may be. We recognize and understand that all things are interconnected ultimately, and if we can mitigate something, either by a referral or at least information on a service out there, perhaps we can curb the instance of child abuse happening again. These are our forensic interview rooms. Again, every effort making this not look like a clinical experience, right? The one on the left is the room that we talk to children ages 8 all the way down to 3. The one on the right is for children ages 9 and up. Now, typically we serve children 18 and below, but recently we have gotten special training to make sure that we have the capacity to serve even adults who have special needs, to ensure that their voices are heard as well and that they're taken seriously as another vulnerable population in our community. They deserve every chance at having justice as well. On the left, that is our multidisciplinary team room. We bring that team together before the family gets there. We talk about the case dynamics. We talk about what's known about the family. We get some information about what resources may benefit the family before we even engage with them, with our partners. And then we'll go engage the family alongside of the victim advocate, making sure that we're spending some time with them, getting them comfortable. We take our families on a tour. We introduce them to the team. It is a transparent process. There is no stone that we do not turn over. In the right picture, that's our observation room. So there's a single one-way mirror where our multidisciplinary investigative team members sit. That's the only people who are allowed to observe the forensic interview. The parents, the caregivers, Unfortunately, they are not permitted to view the forensic interview at the time it's being conducted, which raises some eyebrows sometimes, and let me explain to you why. I told you before that we are in the pursuit of truth, and so we cannot have any undue influence on that child being able to speak their truth one way or another. Having a caregiver sitting in an observation room and the child knowing that may prevent them from telling us all the details, either because they're uncomfortable saying it in front of their caregiver, or they may be influenced by their caregiver. We don't know the dynamics of those relationships, so we have to take that precaution. Our team is able to see and hear what's being said. It's also visually and audio recorded. The children in that room are shown who's sitting in that room, and they are described as their team, because truly we are all here for them. This is about the children, right? I told you that we provide medical screening on site. This is our medical room. How cool is that, right? We had a community member that came forward when we moved into this space. We put a call out and we said, help us, please help us make sure that this is not a re-traumatizing experience for a child. That is hand-sculpted tree, paper mache and compound material with probably about 15 to 16 different animals, again, all hand-sculpted. It's beautiful. There's lights in the tree. It kind of looks like fairy lights in the tree. And we tried to split the difference because we serve children all the way up to age 18. So we wanted to be child friendly without being too kiddie to the point where somebody would feel, they were being treated, like a child. But the impact of this on those children going into that room is profound. You can see their shoulders drop. They smile, they're curious. It's great, but who it impacts the most is mom or dad. It's a distraction for them as well. These medical screenings are non-invasive. Currently, in partnership, we do them once per month. The goal is not necessarily to get any sort of DNA evidence. In fact, it's very unlikely after 72 hours after an abuse has occurred that you can get any DNA evidence. This is more so an opportunity for the child to come face to face with a specially trained clinician who can assure them that they are not broken. And that means the world. Some of these kids absolutely need to hear that. We also do STD testing and screening. That can be an indication that abuse has occurred, particularly for a very young child who has contracted such a thing. The doctor provides body boundaries education, which is very important as well. And then the encouragement from our entire team, but especially the doctor, is to teach children the proper name for their body parts, so that when we have these conversations, they can clearly tell a professional what happened, how it happened, and where it happened. These medical screenings typically take place after we've conducted a forensic interview, and I'm here to tell you that children don't tell us everything. We try as hard as we can to ensure that they have an opportunity to do that, but sometimes they just need more time. And so this also is an opportunity for that child to talk to a professional in a field that they're more familiar with because they've probably been to doctors multiple times. And sometimes they tell more, and that helps the team as well. It's an incredibly important part of our process. We had another artist who came and did a full-size mural in our hallway. We have our families that are in their family waiting rooms. We have the child who has to take a long walk from their caregiver around our building to go into the forensic interview room. It's a long walk. It takes about 30 seconds. Doesn't seem like a long time, but when you are thinking about what you have to talk about as soon as that walk is over, and the impact of what that could have on your family, or whatever the case may be, that's a lot. 30 seconds is a lot. These kids get to walk through this hallway. The detail on this is absolutely amazing. Again, the purpose, it's not because we want cool artwork, it's about the kids. You see the shoulders drop. They have something they can look forward to on the walk back out. We take time with them. We give them as much time as they absolutely need afterwards to enjoy this, to shift their mind to something that's just about being a kid and being curious about the beauty of the world. Very cool. That is our site. That is our center. We want to make sure that everyone in the community knows this number. This is Childline. Some people ask us, do we call the CAC if we are concerned about child abuse? No. Call this number. Call this number. If you have concerns, everybody has the ability to ensure that children are safe in their community, and this is the mechanism in which to do it. Childline will get a hold of the proper authorities. It will start the investigation process. That's how we will get engaged in this. So this becomes very important. Now, this is after abuse has occurred. Ooh, you are not going to be able to see that. But this is something that we do as well, and it's called the Front Porch Project. This is a partnership with multiple different agencies who are all invested in the well-being of children in Butler County. It's a 3-hour workshop that's designed for groups of people, 20 or less. It's very engaging. I'm one of the facilitators for this. It's an initiative of Butler County Prevention Council, of which the Children's Advocacy Center sits on, along with Children and Youth, the Butler County Children's Center, and several other groups. This is where the community gets involved. We seek to teach people just like you how you can prevent child abuse before it ever occurs, how you can encourage protective factors, how you can enhance your community by getting people engaged with one another, by knowing who neighbors are, by supporting and praising positive parenting practices. And then we let you know how you can intervene where you have some concerns. And we recognize that it's not one solution fits every single thing. And so we go through what your perceptions may be, what your comfort level is, and we hope that by the end of that 3-hour workshop that your comfort level has shifted and you have some more tools in your toolbox to be able to help us in this. Prevention. This is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Blue Sunday being the last of our activities for this month. Our center is there when abuse has occurred, but again, it's you and communities like you that can help us in partnership with the center ensure that we can put ourselves out of business ultimately, because that's our goal. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the invitation to come here. Thank you for caring about the children in the community. God bless.